I said, what if Aaron and JT from No Holds Barred did a what if series, and what if it was only on YouTube? That's the case. We're here. No Holds Barred, we're here every Saturday, but 3 Wednesdays a month, we're here with the what if question. So we want to thank all of our viewers who've submitted questions. If you have one for us, put it in the comments.
Yes.
Subscribe, like, share. We have a ton of content, North South Connection. There's YouTube only content. We have some audio only content. If you go to any podcatcher app and search North South Connection, and we have some stuff that's simulcast on both. So to subscribe to both, follow us on social media. You won't miss a thing. We'll keep you churning along. So, Aaron, how are you? Doing all right?
Yeah, just sometimes struggling to hear you, but that's me. I got
That's
the
you.
problem.
You're the problem. It's you.
I'm always the
all right.
problem. I'm well aware. Go on.
Well, let's read tonight's question. It's from our buddy.
Read it for me, please.
Marcus Fuller, who submits, helps us out with producing some questions here and there. And his what if is if Randy Orton joins AEW in 2019.
So allow me to preface this by saying that I think my dream booking scenario for AEW has almost always included Randy Orton. Because it's, number one, Randy Orton is one of those guys who, when I went back and watched everything, of everyone, he was the one that I was like, holy shit, this guy's fucking good. Like, he's been good for a long time. He's been good forever. But he's also one of these guys in WWE that's done everything, right? He's done everything there is to do in the company.
And beyond.
That's it. And
really done everything.
Yes. A lot of bags were taken care of by him. But yeah, so I thought that, like, it's really, I can't imagine Cena leaving to go to another company. I can't imagine Batista. I can't imagine Roman, think like when you think of their top guys from like around that, I can't even Sheamus. I can't imagine he's not even on their level, but Orton is the one where I'm like, holy shit. Like, I think he could really make a difference in this company. And I shows up, right? Because when you look back at the history of AEW, they formed the company, I think it's in like February or March 2019.
Right.
And they have they have a pay-per-view. God, what was it called? It was called Double or Nothing.
Yes.
That was, I think, in April. And this was the pay-per-view where Jon Moxley showed up. Right. I think you still got to keep Moxley. I think there's no way he's not coming. Right. But I think if Orton arrives around this time, so I was listening to Jericho talk recently, and it was along the, I only caught, in like the YouTube shorts, you only get like half the conversation, but it kind of started with him saying, well, it was never actually set in stone, but it was probably understood that I was going to be the first champion, the top star of, I was the biggest star in the company at that point. But I think if Orton is in there at this point, Orton's the top star, right?
He would be a bigger star than
Chris Jericho, probably.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, and I mean, look, like when I look at both their careers, I think I've come around on Orton, and I think I probably in WWE like Orton more. But Jericho's got that like roster of like WCW and ECW, and so his career is probably all time, maybe a bit higher. But I think star power, Randy Orton is almost certainly the going to be the biggest star in that company at that point.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And is the business model correct that you make the biggest star your champion?
My only question would be, is he too WWE and they're trying to get away, like they're trying to be different, but I guess Jericho always felt though like
he didn't belong.
Yeah, like he always felt almost like an outsider within WWE, right? Like you said, his pedigree was Japan, Mexico, ECW, WCW. He wasn't part of the alliance, but he's an asshole during the invasion. And then that's all the backstage stuff, right? Like he's kind of an outsider. Triple H hates him. he never gets the true run. Even when he does, he's not like the guy. He leaves like 6 times between 2025 and 2017. He always seems to like be angry. It's on some level. So
Yeah.
like it felt like he was disgruntled, and it's almost the same as Ambrose, right? Like he never felt like or Moxley, like he wasn't a WWE guy. Like yeah, he came through NXT, but he was a worked a bunch of indies. He was known. He was a deathmatch guy. He always seems like a loose cannon that didn't necessarily fit within WWE. He was just like
Yeah.
ready. It's like he was almost ready to leave as soon as they got there. Is always how it felt with him.
Yeah.
Whereas Orton
Is
was born there and would have been there for almost 20 years. You know what I mean? Like he is a WWE guy. So I would almost argue the use of him would be better, similar to like an NWO style thing versus him being their first champion and poster boy of AEW. Like I'd have
well,
Jericho lose.
I think, I mean, like, if you look at that Jericho run, right? At least that early Jericho run, a lot of it is based on him acting like he's better than than the company. Just act like making sure the fans thank him. And so I just think that you could probably do that with Orton and get way better matches out of it. Like, I don't think you get a lot
What are
of
you doing with
Jericho's
Jericho?
character stuff. Like, so if you ever have the opportunity, and this is for everyone, if you go back and watch those early Dynamites, there's a lot of really great character stuff in there. Like, and a lot of it's from Jericho. Jericho's excellent throughout, right? But I think there's probably, I don't know what happens to Jericho.
That's what I'm saying. Like, is he
Orton's there.
just not going to win the title? Is he going to be feuding with Orton? Like, so what does that look like if they're doing like the same character?
Well, I mean, I think what ends up happening is that they end up, if Orton is the champion, let's say, right? What you're basically going to do is have, have Jericho come in and continue the logical kind of feud that he had, which was Kenny Omega. You tie Jericho up with Omega, and you have Orton. Go up against Page the same way they had Jericho, right? And I just think you probably build. The difference is that Orton is a natural loner, right? Which could be interesting. Whereas the beginning was very much based on the stable of Jericho's guys, right? So you can still have that stable going up against the Elite and Orton doing something else. And maybe as a consequence, the whole card is more interesting.
Yeah, I'm thinking more like you still have Jericho versus Page at All Out. So you Double or Nothing, everything stays the same.
Okay.
Jericho, who's he beat? He beats Omega at Double or Nothing to win that
To win
shot, right?
Yeah.
So then I think you keep that. You do Jericho, Page at All Out. Page wins instead of Jericho.
Mm-hmm.
And then Orton comes through the crowd and RKO's Page and runs away. And now you start to play up like, all right, like what's going on? I think you play like Hall a little bit, like not as obvious because the internet is different, but like so,
Yeah.
but it's kind of like, why is he here? Who's he with? Is he on the up and up? Like, what's he trying to do? And then that sets up Orton versus Page as like a feud for Page trying to get his belt back. And then you go to Jericho Omega or whatever you want to do with Jericho. But at least Orton, like, I don't think Orton is champion right away as the flagship. Like, I know I get Jericho's point, but I think a feud with Orton is enough. And then maybe Orton beats Page for the belt like after that. But I think having him do a surprise debut and attack out of the crowd makes more sense than him being the inaugural champion and face. Like, I think Page is big enough with what they were trying to do to be your first champion, especially Jericho being in the main event. Like,
Then
if Page
why do you think they didn't do Page then?
Well, because I think they felt Jericho should be the champion and be the
Right.
right. But Orton can win it soon after. You know what I'm saying? Like, he could win it on the first Dynamite, which is a month later. Like, you're telling me like Dynamite's not going to get greenlit because Page is your champion, but you got Randy Orton on the contract? Yeah, right. So I know you're not saying that, but if they were thinking that, it's not the case, right? So I think Page winning at All Out, Orton beats him on the first Dynamite, and now like, because you want to set up. You're building a new company and you're basing it on people that are disgruntled with the way WWE has had a monopoly for years, right?
Yeah.
no matter what you do with Orton, it's going to feel like he's the same old. And you can present it as like TNA kind of did with Angle, right? Oh, this is a major star that jumped ship. He's coming here. So if you want Orton to be a face, you present it as like maybe you were going. Orton comes out and maybe says, I'm the biggest star, but I'm here to make AEW a big deal. Fuck WWE, right? So maybe you go that route. Or you do what I'm saying, and that's make it like ambiguous as to what his role is. Have Paige win, and then sell Dynamite's first pay-per-view. But now your fans know AEW's not going anywhere. Yes, Orton is the face of everything you hate, but he's being presented as such.
Yeah.
And your show, your promotion's not going because Dynamite's on the air. It just got a TV deal. You're running pay-per-views. Like it's a real company now. So now you get into like a storyline.
Yeah, I'm just curious as to how the rest of the pieces fall because,
yeah,
like let's say I'm not sure I'm in on the Paige winning the belt because I think they really wanted to wait until he was ready to give him that title, and that's what they did.
So you do Omega instead of Paige?
Well, or you keep Jericho as the first champion. See, here's the thing, and this is where it becomes complicated, right? When you look at their next pay-per-view, which is Full Gear, right? So what you could have Jericho defeat Paige and then have Orton debut there, still out of the crowd or whatever. You could still do that. But like when you look at their next pay-per-view, the championship match is Jericho against Cody, right? And that's the big build in those weeks is Cody Rhodes going to fight him. That's the one where like he lost, so he could never challenge again, like right away. And then the other match that you don't want to touch is Moxley and Omega because it's like an unsanctioned lights out match,
right? And it's 40.
So it's like who do you then run at this pay-per-view as like the third of the main event? Hangman Page against Orton, a debuting Orton.
Non-title. You have
at this point, Jericho's the champion.
Yeah.
Right? So you're keeping Jericho Cody, and then you're keeping Page for... the other thing you could do is if you wanted is run the rematch of Jericho Page and run Cody Orton with all the history they have.
So what's Orton doing when he debuts it all out? He attacks Page? Because I don't want him attacking Jericho. I feel like Orton, Jericho, you're not going to have them feud for the title. Like then you're just really doing a dirty redox. So what's the fucking point then, No,
I mean, if anything, what he should do is he should come out and probably attack both of them.
Right.
And then it manifests into a Hangman Page feud.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the interesting thing to do there because again, yeah, you're right. You don't want Jericho Orton for the title.
No, you're not doing that.
No. So yeah, like maybe I think that's probably the way to run it in terms of that third pay-per-view. And then you're working Orton up.
Or you have Orton win, like I said, at Dynamite, and then you just do Cody Orton at Full Gear.
Right. But I don't know, like Cody, were you watching during that period of Cody?
Yeah, I mean,
sort of like it's really good the stuff they do with Jericho and Cody and the friendship with MJF. There's a lot in that feud that really I thought helped really build the foundation of Dynamite.
Right.
Not that Orton couldn't have done that. I'm sure he could have, but Jericho was like a really great chicken shit heel.
Yeah.
Right. I want to stay away from Moxley and Orton. I don't think we need that because
we've seen that again. Now you're just doing WWE shit.
That's it. So you want to keep Orton with Paige. You want to keep Orton with Paige, Cody, Omega. I think that's like his first year in terms of pay-per-view.
Right.
Or maybe you throw him out there with someone who he's never fought before, like Pac. Even though he was in.
Yeah, that feels like a Dynamite match.
Yeah.
Like a big Dynamite match. I think what you do with Orton too is you have him go on a path of saying, I came here for a reason. I've done everything I can do in WWE, but I want each and every one of your guys to prove it to me that this is the place to be, or I'm leaving in 2 years. Like I signed a 1-year deal, or however you want to do it, right? A 1-year deal. And I'm going to fight the best of your guys. I don't give a fuck about the title. I've been a world champion. Like I've already been a world champion at WrestleMania. I don't need your world title. I am here to prove A, I can still be one of the best in the world, right? And B, show me that this is the new place to be for the best in the world. So give me your best. Tony Khan, give me your best.
Yeah, give me Pentagon, give me Phoenix, give me
give me Pac, give me Omega, and eventually
Scorpio
maybe
Sky, everybody.
Yeah. And then maybe you eventually get to Omega a year in, like All Out 2020, it's Omega Orton, and that's like, all right, Omega,
Orton
you're the
wins the
last
belt.
man standing. Prove to me, show me like that AEW is the best in the world, and and they have a banger, and Omega wins, and Orton shakes his hand and says, I'm not going anywhere. You know what I mean? And then just becomes a guy on the roster.
Or I agree with all this, or that's where Orton wins the belt on his last day. And then it's almost like then he has to be there.
Right.
I've never seen that done where like he's the champion but can't leave. Like it then becomes like, well, I have to defend the title. I have to do this. Like he's beaten everybody in the year.
Yeah.
And then maybe he starts slipping a bit, you know, and then when he
But see, I don't know if I didn't have him win all those matches. I guess, you know, they could just be yeah, maybe he wins some. Yeah, I guess it depends who you feed to him, but yeah, I think that's probably the way to go. Like versus him being champion is more of like a prove it. Like prove to me why you guys think you're so elite, worthy of being a top promotion with a TV deal and pay-per-views. Like, you know, these guys I've beaten for years. Cody, Dean Ambrose, Jericho. Like these are guys I've already beaten in the past, and this is who you're putting on TV, and then, you know, like have them earn his, like Orton's all about respect, right? So like earn his respect with great matches. So maybe he may win some, then he shakes their hand after, like, all right, Paige, like you took me to the limit kind of thing, right? So, and maybe that's the path you go with him.
Yeah, I think that might be interesting. All the while keeping him as an asshole.
Yeah, yeah, he's just
you
being
really
a
have
dick.
to work to earn his respect. Yeah,
yeah, you really gotta like. Maybe he even sits in the crowd or observes matches on the stage sometimes. It's like trying to say, like, all right, who's going to be worthy of my next, who's worth pay-per-view with Randy Orton, right? Not just anybody. So, like, he's going to start scouting opponents, not based on titles, but based on worth of his name on a pay-per-view.
Ability.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe then later when whatchamacallit, the thing that they try to get going. You know, I think there's just with him there's so many interesting avenues because like even to this day, that's kind of what they're missing, right? Is that giant mega. I mean, they have Punk, and I think when Punk first came back, they had that Punk and Bryan.
Yeah.
I think Bryan is still kind of there, but Bryan's not a star the way Orton is a star, right? Like, and I like Bryan more. I like watching him more, but Randy Orton is a mega star in professional wrestling. Right. And I think outside of maybe Kenny Omega, they've never really had that.
No. And I mean, Moxley, if you look at the profile of the guys they bring in, it's the guys like we talked about earlier. It's always like disgruntled type of guys, right? Like Bryan wasn't really disgruntled, but I mean, you could argue he was misused at times and like, you know, held down. Like it's always that type of guy. They never brought in anyone that was just like a star that was just always a star. Like even Christian, right? Like Christian's whole career was that they never gave him the chance, right? So it feels like the
right opportunity, yeah.
Yeah, it feels like they built all the guys they bring in from WWE seem for everyone they brought in, which is a lot. It always seems to be the guys that are like never got the chance. You know, even Regal when he came in, it was like, oh well, they never really got behind William Regal, right? So it's like they never really brought in anyone that was just a freaking star that had a great run, like an Angle in TNA. Is like they never really had, or Foley in TNA. Like they never had anyone like that had a run and came in as a star. It's always been, to me, Jericho's the closest, but like it's usually just guys that seem like they always were either held down a bit or outsiders in WWE, and now they get a home here. The guys that would have been in WCW if WCW was around, right? Like that's kind of the vibe you get.
Yeah.
But that was an interesting one for sure. I mean, you know, I think there's other ways to go with it. You know, we didn't even get into, when I look at the roster, it's so funny, like how far they've come. Like it's 4 years and they've had some insane roster churn. Like guys, if you look at those first few pay-per-views, like some of these dudes wouldn't even sniff, like, and it's not on a shot of them, but like,
well, here, you know, look at I have Full Gear up, right? Because this is what we're looking at. Okay. Pre-show match. Dr. Britt Baker still there.
Yep.
Yeah, like that's what's her name?
B. Priestley, yeah.
The Young Bucks. Paige is still there. Pac in and out. Sean Spears,
gone.
Not really there. Yeah. Joey Janela, gone. SoCal Uncensored, there, but not really,
featured. Right.
Lucha Brothers still featured for the most part. Private Party, big at the beginning, not there anymore. Riho, she's there, but pretty much gone. Sakura, gone. Cody, gone. Like, main event was Moxley and Omega. They'll always be there.
And that's who they put on pay-per-view. Like,
yeah.
Now go look at the roster that was like on Dynamite. It's like there were guys popping up left and right that would never really have a shot now. Like they've brought in so much high-level talent. And in a way, you feel for some of those guys like that were there in the early days that really helped them get rolling, like a Janela, and others, right? That were there through those early days, but
they just got surpassed. That's all that was, because
right.
I think one of the things AEW did well and probably don't get enough credit for. They went on too much about these are the 4 pillars and this and that. But they've done well by all 4 of those guys.
Yeah.
They've built MJF up super well. They've built Darby Allin up super well. I thought they did a good job with Guevara, kind of hit and miss. And Jungle Boy, they're trying something new now, right? So,
right.
But like those were the guys that they were like, these are our guys going forward. Those are the guys who are going to take the place of Paige, Omega, and the Bucks when they finally leave.
Right.
Or retire. I think they'll retire there.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about a cool angle too they could do with Orton and the Bucks. Orton has to find a partner that he figures is worthy of him to team with him against the Bucks. Something like that, or he fights him 2-on-1. He's like, "Fuck it, let's go."
I think if you're gonna do that, that's probably how you start the Cody angle,
right?
With Orton, because like he's like, well, I know you,
right, yeah.
But Cody's changed so much since they were together that it doesn't work, and that's kind of what.
I wasn't even thinking of the legacy aspect of it, honestly. Yeah, that's something they could dive into for sure. Like,
and they could even go back and get. What the fuck is Ted DiBiase doing?
Right. Yeah, they could always bring him back too. Well, he's on his way to jail, but they could do something. Whatever. They could get him on. Tony Khan could bail him out for the show.
But like, it's funny because if you put a guy like, one of the things that AEW took a lot of heat for early on was how much time and energy they put into the Dark Order. Right. And the Dark Order at the beginning, I would say until they got Brody Lee, the Dark Order was not that impressive. So it's like, if you have another main event act that can take that time on TV, that product is immediately much better.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. All right. I mean, it's an interesting one for sure. Again, if we missed anything, is there something Orton could have done better than what we laid out? Let us know and put that in the comments. Would you rather him stay the fuck away from AEW? That's fine too. Like, let us know if you prefer he never showed up. I want to thank Marcus for the question. I want to thank everyone who watched and subscribed. Be sure to leave us a like and a sub. We're here at No Holds Barred every Saturday, either doing a title change project, which was going through every WWE World Title change in history chronologically and ranking and rating them. Once a month, we do a build a card. So all-time SummerSlam, all-time Survivor Series cards. We do that for every month. And once a month, we're here with TNA Never Dies. Going through the history of TNA, we're in 2003 there. So be sure to check all that out. Subscribe, like, leave a comment. And I'm going to leave you with one question. What if this ended?